Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe. Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here. We need a motion to do the consent agenda tonight.
I would make that motion.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Okay, ready to take the roll. Yeah, yes, take the.
Okay, items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 26 on August 21st, 2018 is presented. Approve the appointment of Aaron Short to the position of building inspector in the health department effective September 4th, 2018. Approve the appointment of Heather Zurcher to the position of WPCF Lab Tech effective August 27th, 2018. Annual Urban Renewal Report for the Westgate Urban Renewal Area, Airport Urban Renewal Area, Wildwood Drive Highway 34 Urban Renewal Area, and the Hospital District Pennsylvania Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area for the fiscal year July 2017 through June 2018 for the city of Ottumwa, Iowa. Resolution number 233, 2018, authorizing the destruction of certain records according to the Code of Iowa 2017 as amended. Resolution number 225, 2018, approving the street financial report for the fiscal year of July 2017 through June 2018 for the city of Ottumwa, Iowa. Approve the purchase of a John Deere HX20 rotary cutter from Sinclair Tractor of Ottumwa for the Ottumwa Regional Airport in the amount of $20,599. Beer and/or liquor applications for fine liquor and tobacco at 819B Albia Road and 813B Albia Road. Hy-Vee Store number 2 at 2457 North Court Street. Habisha Grocery Store at 428 East Main Street. All applications pending final inspections.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
I need to announce too that apparently we're having some technical difficulties, so people at home should be able to hear us, but the video is not working. We think it was struck by lightning. We're checking that out, but we'll do the best we can tonight. Okay, item C is the approval of tonight's agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Skip. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris to give us some reports. So Andy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two items to notify council of. The very first item you'll see listed is the hiring of a human resources director. To be clear, so that the public understands this, and this is an item we've talked about on the staff level. As you know, at present, Joni Keith performs the duties, responsibilities of both the city attorney and city clerk, and I think risk management as well, if my memory serves. This position, which was authorized by council, would take the human resource responsibility specific to the city, and it would vest that in one person. And this was a council decision we have moved upon. This position has been advertised. I believe it's been put on the Iowa League of Cities. It's been put in the Courier. The deadline for this position is the 28th of this month, and hope to get some viable candidates. I think we've already had one that has come in. But again, just to be clear, Ms. Keith will continue in her capacity as city attorney. This breaks off the HR component invested in a single individual. So I just wanted to let council and the general public know that is an item we are working on. The other item, which I want to bring up to speed on, was something that was discussed at our previous meeting, and that relates to the Ottumwa Deer Harvest Program. You may recall from that previous meeting that Cam Reeves spoke at that particular meeting we had about some of his concerns, items he wanted to see. Councilman Stevens recommended that staff come forward with some recommendations as to what those may be. As I recall, they were specific to the type of clothing. As I recall, orange clothing for reflective purposes. In addition, that the folks that are undertaking this program would have to take on. In addition to that, there were some property issues as well. I don't have a particular policy developed quite yet at this point. I've read through the policy the chief shared with me. I think it's fair to say that we will try and move on one of them and probably not the second one. Mr. Mayor, if it's all right with you, if it wouldn't be inconvenience, ask Chief McAndrew to step forward at this time and explain the policy in his role.
Certainly. Good evening, Chief. You have the floor.
Mayor and Council, at our last meeting, Cam Reeves did say that he was concerned about the current policy. And he was contacted after the meeting, and he sent us an email with his suggestions to the change in the ordinance. And I believe you all have received a copy of that. Is that correct? So I think my memo kind of speaks for how I am what my recommendations are. The Hunter Orange, it's not a big deal. I've got different stories on whether the deer can see the orange at that range. So I'd leave it up to the wisdom of the council as far as if they think people should wear orange. I do know that if someone's hunting in your neighborhood and they're wearing orange, it'd be easier for humans to see. But in regards to the second suggestion that Cam had was everyone should have permission from all the adjoining property owners before they're allowed to hunt on their own property. I'm making a recommendation against that. That would allow one person to hold a property owner hostage, and it would allow a neighbor to tell a property owner next to them what to do with their property. Cam also had a few concerns. He didn't put them down as what he thought the ordinance should be changed to. I would just say that our current policy has been in place since 2005, I believe. We haven't had any issues with those distances with anyone. I don't know of any complaints that we have received other than from Cam, and I don't think that policy should be changed. Overall, the policy's been in place since 2005. We haven't had any issues. Right now, we have one citizen that wants to change it. I haven't had any other complaints or any other people coming around saying they want it changed. So I guess I'm looking for a little bit of direction from council on this before we would write up an ordinance with all of his changes. Maybe kind of have an idea of where we want to go with this.
Go ahead, Councilman Rowe.
I guess I respectfully disagree with the Hunter Orange, and not to what you were saying. I think that in this particular instance, we should fall back to the wisdom of the Iowa DNR. And Iowa DNR very clearly states that blaze orange is required for shotgun and muzzleloader seasons. But they have, in fact, kind of pushed the bow hunting aside for visibility or for the deer hunters to be able to not be seen by the deer, however they would potentially see it. So I think it would not be wise for us as a council that have probably not too much experience between all five of us to rule on something that the Iowa DNR has many decades of experience. It makes no sense to me why we would appease one person off of the against the expertise of the Iowa DNR.
Any other comments?
I would just make one quick comment. I appreciate Cam coming forward with his concerns, and it's a hard one because safety of the public in a densely populated area like the city is a concern to me. But being a hunter myself and knowing that when you're in a tree stand trying to remain as inconspicuous as possible and having your silhouette broke up with camouflage, wearing blaze oranges makes that hard and makes you more apparent to deer. And so, if we haven't had any issues, I want to hang my hat on that because, those could happen at any time. With the hours that we have that we allow this, I think it's probably, a time where most people are probably indoors, hopefully, when it comes to young children. So I'm okay with leaving it as is. I do appreciate you looking into it, with the response and coming back with us with your recommendation. I would agree with what you recommend, that we leave the policy as is.
I too, I guess, would agree with that. What I appreciate is what I simply stated when this happened. Any citizen that comes to this council, we should give them some type of an answer. And I stated before, it may not be the answer they want to hear, but they deserve an answer. Appreciate the work that you've done on this. I'll support you.
Any other comments?
No, that, we don't have any further. Mayor, that's all
Thank you.
I have. I'll turn it back
Okay.
over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. The only other comment under reports, several representatives of the council and administrative staff will be attending the annual League of Cities meeting next week. So some of us will be unavailable. Item E on our agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that's filled out a sheet to talk to the council about an item on the agenda? I don't have any up here, so I'm going to move right on to item F then. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Bid review and award contract for pipe re-insulation in the City Hall basement. Recommendation: approve the bid from QCI Thermal Systems in the amount of $13,665.
Move the recommendations presented.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Invitations to bid for reinsulating pipes in the basement of City Hall were sent out to 10 contractors. One bid was received. The bid was from QCI Thermal Insulators for $13,665. The work will involve reinsulating 625 linear feet of pipes in the basement of Ottumwa City Hall, and the work should be completed by September 30th, 2018.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you, Gene.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at Building Number 37 at 14504 Terminal Avenue at the Ottumwa Regional Airport.
This is a public hearing. I think, Joni, you're going to take the lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Steve Rocky has been leasing building number 37 at 14504 Terminal Avenue at the Ottumwa Regional Airport since May 1 of 2016. The lease agreement provided an option to purchase the property, which Mr. Rocky executed in a timely manner. The property has been appraised for the sum of $35,000, and the proposed real estate and development agreement offers that price for the approximate 2.78 acre site. The real estate is considered obligated by the Federal Aviation Administration, and the FAA must approve and release obligated property before it can be sold. The building has been deteriorating and needs a new roof as well as other renovations. Steve Rocky intends to utilize this parcel for warehouse and equipment storage for his farming operation and other business endeavors. He will complete a new roof within 2 years of closing and the final building renovation within 3 years of closing. And I would add that if we took the building back, we're probably looking at demolition, and the cost of demolition would be well over $100,000, if not several hundreds of thousands of dollars. He will be employing at least 3 to 4 full-time employees in his businesses, and I know he employs many more than that. He'll also be granting an easement to the city for roadway access to the city's building number 38, which is next door to building 37. Again, this is subject to FAA approval. This is the first step in the process. Once council approves the development agreement, then I have to start submitting paperwork to FAA to get their approval. And upon their release of the property, then those funds would go into the airport fund balance. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address this item?
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question only along those same lines then. In the past, when we've had properties, we've had to subject them to bids. I know you have to get the approval from FAA. Is this something then that has to be put before the public as well to give them an opportunity to bid, or does that FAA close the door?
Right now, this would be a permissible process through FAA, and it usually takes 6 months for a approval to come down from FAA.
Right. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. If there's no public comment, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 203, 2018, accepting the purchase and development agreement and approving the sale of real estate to Steve Rocky for $35,000. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 203, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Thank you, Skip.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 704 Center.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the first of two pieces of property that the school district has requested to purchase. And they've offered the city $1 for this lot at 704 Center, and they intend to build housing on it eventually. They'll utilize their students to do that. This property will be transferred by quitclaim, and the buyer will pay the cost of publishing the public hearing notice and other costs of conveyance. And I need to specify that it's the city's intention to convey a lot with the platted dimensions of 66 feet by 127 feet, consisting of 0.19 acres, more or less, and not a larger parcel. Because of the way that the legal description reads on this piece of property and the next one, the legal description references 10 acres in addition to the lot, and we want to make sure that everyone understands we're not transferring 10 acres, only the platted lot.
Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this particular item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Mark.
second,
Thank you, Howard. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
Resolution number 227, 2018, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 704 Center to the Ottumwa Community School District for the sum of $1 for the purpose of building housing. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 227, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
second,
Thank you, Holly.
Councilmember Dalby?
Abstain.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
Motion carries.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 708 Center.
Go ahead, Jody.
This is the lot right next to the one that you just approved. And the size is the same, the provisions are the same, and we are not transferring a larger parcel, just one that is approximately 0.19 acres.
Anyone in the audience who wants to address this item? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Thank you, Skip.
Second.
Thank you, Matt.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
Resolution number 228, 2018, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 708 Center to the Ottumwa Community School District for the sum of $1 for the purpose of building housing. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 228, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Abstain.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 208 North McLean.
Go ahead, Jody.
Bids for this placarded house were accepted till 2 o'clock, August 28th, and we received 8 bids for the property. Nathaniel Wasson submitted the best bid in the amount of $7,126, and we are recommending you sell him this property.
This is a public hearing also. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
second,
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
yes,
Resolution number 230, 2018, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 208 North McLean to Nathaniel Wasson for the sum of $7,126. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution 230, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Glad to see you moving on those places.
Resolution number 226, 2018, authorizing the purchase of a new IBM Power 8 system from Technology Services and Solutions Incorporated for $27,481. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 226, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Bob. You have the floor.
Good evening, Your Honor. Thank you. This is a server purchase to replace the existing server for the City of Ottumwa's Finance Department. The current server is over 10 years old and is no longer being supported by IBM. The server will be paid for using proceeds from the 2018 bond issue. It is a sole source type of purchase since they've prepared and we've utilized them for the financial system here for years.
Any questions for Bob? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Resolution number 229, 2018, approve the assignment of the 2-year agreement with Bridgeview Center Incorporated to utilize hotel motel funds to assist in funding the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution number 229, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Joni, you want to take this?
I'd be glad to, Your Honor. The original 2-year agreement with Bridgeview Center, Inc. was passed by the City Council on May 15, 2018, effective July 1 of 2018. The assignment of this original agreement is a result of the filing of the articles of incorporation separating the Convention and Visitors Bureau from the Bridgeview Center, Inc. Entity, which approved the separation and the assignment at its August 28, 2018 meeting. The new nonprofit entity now meets the disbursement requirements of the hotel motel tax, and the original agreement can be assigned directly to CVB. The new entity will be receiving a flat 35% of the 7% hotel motel tax revenue. The balance of the revenue is used to fund the deficits at the Bridgeview Center and the Beach Ottumwa. This is a 2-year agreement with a renewal of an additional 2 years as mutually approved by both parties. And I've attached a copy of the proposed assignment, and I believe it has been signed by both boards. And we have Andy Wartenberg here on behalf of CVB, and we have Scott Halgren here, I believe, on behalf of Bridgeview Center, Inc., possibly. And they'd be glad, I'm sure, to answer any questions you would have regarding this agreement. But it's just an assignment of the original agreement.
Are there any desire to hear from anybody? I think it's in your packet. It's been pretty straightforward. Andy or Scott, any comments you want to make? I don't think it's necessary at this point. Okay, then if there's no questions, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
Resolution number 231, 2018, award the Bridgeview Center Fill Repair Expo floor boxes to Turner Concrete and Construction for the sum of $8,250. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 231, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Dwight. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This project involves removing in-slab receptacles and framing of 30 electrical floor boxes in the expo hall of the Bridgeview Center and filling the boxes with concrete as the final part in relocating the power distribution from the floor to the ceiling. Requests for bids were sent to 3 local contractors plus advertised on the city's website and Master Builders Online. The only bidder was Turner Concrete of Ottumwa, Iowa. Staff recommends awarding this contract to Turner Concrete in the amount of $8,250. In your packet is a summary of all the costs so far, which brings the total of the project to $96,965.96. And 2017 CIP is budgeted for $97,000.
Okay. Are there any questions for Dwight? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Good job. Thanks, Dwight.
Resolution number 232, 2018, approving the federal aid agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for the Ward Street Bridge Replacement Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 232, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The city requested that Ward Street Bridge be considered for funding under the HBP grant program. It is a statewide competitive funded program that uses a priority point system to rank the structures annually based on existing structural condition, utilizing a standardized engineering inspection criteria. The project will consist of removing the existing bridge and installing a reinforced concrete box culvert and replacement of the PCC pavement surface. The portion of the eligible cost reimbursed by the HBP funds shall be limited to a maximum of 80% of the eligible cost, which include construction, engineering, and inspection. The preliminary cost of this project is estimated at $420,200. And you can see we have the local already funded under the previous CIP.
Any questions for Larry on this project? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Again, I'm going to take the prerogative of the chair. Are there any public comments that anybody wants to make about an item not on the agenda? Is there public comments of anything? Okay. Thank you. Seeing none, the only other thing I would do is mention that we do have a couple items that I want to comment on. We've had a very busy last couple of weeks. I think the greatest thing was the Fly Ottumwa, which was a huge success in spite of the weather. I would like to recognize a few people, and I know this is dangerous because I'm going to leave somebody out, but first of all, I think Pam Coppins and Audrey Keck, the operator at the FBO, needs to be recognized. Our own Chris Cobbler and J.D. Wheaton, Russ Spohr and Mary Beth Hammer, who did tickets, Vernon Trucano and Jim Vogt, who took care of parking, Peggy Christie, who helped with the terminal building during the day, officers Tom McAndrew and Jason Bell, Tony Miller and Mike Kraft from the fire department, the entire Wapello County Rural Fire Department, and Tim Richmond, the emergency management coordinator. Isaac Campbell, who did media and worked with the bands, brought the Iowa Military Band here for the rededication of the Naval Air Station. Elsie Mae Kofer, who is the author of Courier on the Prairie, which is a great book about our Naval Air Station. Darren Graham, who is the instructor and in charge of the aviation program at Indian Hills at the airport. Dave Howard from Ormex. They had 9 medical cases due to the heat, and several of those went to the hospital that day. And I'd also like to recognize our own Mary Kirk, who helped coordinate some of the transit buses and provided over 2,000 rides to people who were there at the air show. Again, a great opportunity, and we're looking forward to getting that wrapped up here. A couple of other things. We do have a request from Ragbri about whether or not we want to do an application. And in view of the streetscape project next year, I'm recommending to you, the council, that we not put in an application next year, that we postpone that a year and get our streetscape project completed before we do that again. It's just a major hassle when you have construction and downtown streets blocked off and all that kind of thing. So unless you give me some other feedback, I'll send that back to the Ragbri committee. Had a great diversity meeting this past month, and I think a lot of good topics came up. Our community meeting we had at the KC's, and we did get one individual who came forth and helped us with a problem, and I think it was a good meeting, and I want to thank our staff, both Public Works, Police Department, and Parks, who have to take care of the decision. Last of all, we did have Andy and I, on behalf of the city, attended, and Kevin Flanagan attended a meeting with the owner of the Quincy Place Mall. And we are looking at situations where we could repurpose the mall and do some things. Awful lot of space over there. And so the owner was very open to ideas and suggestions, and we're going to pursue some of those with him and his staff. Nothing has been decided at this point, but at least we're approaching that with the empty spaces that are there. So that's my report to you as a council. Is there any questions about anything? Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you to Jean and the staff at the Beach Ottumwa for hosting the dog paddle for the Heartland Humane fundraiser and rescheduling it when the weather didn't cooperate. So I was, personally hoping it was going to get rescheduled because our dogs love going. So thanks for doing that. And I think it's a good time to showcase the beach to the people there. And even though it started sprinkling, I think they had a good turnout and lots of dog food went on.
Good, great. Any other comments from council? Anything else? Okay, if not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second?
Thank you, good. Thank you, Mark.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
I have 6:10.